Imagine walking into a bank with a gun and a note, and walking out with millions of dollars. That's the dream, that's the movie, that's the myth. But real data on thousands of bank robberies tells a very different story. The average bank robbery in the United States nets just over $4,000. Not 4 million, 4,000. In Italy, researchers studied nearly 5,000 real bank robberies. The average robbery lasted just over 4 minutes and earned about 16,000 euros. Every extra minute inside the bank added roughly 3,000 euros to the haul. But every extra minute also added something else: risk. This is the hidden math behind every bank heist ever committed. Today we're breaking down the real economics of bank robbery. Not the Hollywood version. The actual numbers, the actual outcomes, the actual cost. By the end, you'll understand why one of the world's oldest crimes is dying out, and why the smartest criminals stopped robbing banks decades ago. Let's start with the myth everyone believes. Movies show robbers walking into open vaults stacked with cash. In reality, most modern bank branches barely keep any cash on hand at all. Digital payments, transfers, and cards have replaced the piles of bills tellers once kept in drawers. In the United States, cash now makes up only 14% of consumer payments. That number keeps shrinking every year. Denmark shows where this trend eventually leads. In the year 2000, Denmark recorded 221 bank robberies. By 2022, it recorded 0. Only 20 out of 800 Danish bank branches still kept cash on site. When you remove the cash, you remove the crime. The United States hasn't gone cashless, but the trend is heading the same direction. Bank robberies in America fell from over 7,000 in 2004 to just over 1,000 in 2023. That's an 82% collapse in under 20 years. So if the payout is small and shrinking, why does anyone still try it? Because most robbers are amateurs who believe the myth, not the math. Nearly 80% of bank robberies are committed by a single person working alone. Most robbers are unarmed. Most have no history of bank crime at all. They walk in with a note or a spoken threat, take what's in the drawer, and walk out. It's fast, it's simple, and it's almost always caught. Here's the number that should scare off every amateur robber. Nearly 60% of US bank robberies get solved. That's an extraordinarily high clearance rate compared to almost any other crime. Cameras now record nearly 90% of robberies as they happen. Alarms trigger in roughly 7 out of 10 incidents. Modern banks don't need to stop you at the door. They just need to identify you after. Facial recognition, fingerprints, die packs, and GPS trackers hidden in cash bundles all work quietly in the background. So the robber walks out with a few $1,000s and a police file already open. Now let's talk about what happens after the arrest, because this is where the real cost begins. In US federal courts, the typical robbery sentence in 2024 was over 9 years. If a gun was involved, that sentence jumped to over 13 years. Simply brandishing a firearm, without ever firing it, can add 7 mandatory years on its own. Now compare that to the money actually stolen. The median loss in federal robbery cases was just over $2,000. $2,000 in exchange for 9 to 13 years of your life. That is one of the worst trades a person can make. And the cost doesn't end when the sentence does. Studies show earnings fall by over 50% after prison, even years later. Former prisoners often earn less than $700 a month in their first months of freedom. People earning under $7 an hour after release are twice as likely to end up back in prison. This is the trap. Low reward going in and a shattered income coming out. It's no surprise that robbery has one of the highest repeat offense rates of any crime. Over 70% of released robbers get rearrested within 3 years. The system isn't just catching them once, it's catching the same people again and again. So if branch robbery is such a losing bet, does any physical heist actually pay off? The answer is yes, but only under very specific conditions. The biggest paydays in history never came from a note passed across a counter. They came from insiders, vaults, and armored trucks. In 1997, a vault supervisor at Loomis Fargo simply walked out with $17 million. He didn't need a gun. He already had the keys. Armored car robberies, on average, steal nearly 40 times more per job than a branch robbery. Access, not aggression, is what separates a small-time robber from a serious thief. But even the biggest physical heists in history rarely end well. In 2006, thieves stole £53 million from a security depot in Tunbridge, England. 20 years later, £32 million of it is still missing, but so is most of the crew's freedom. In Belfast, in 2004, robbers took £26.5 million from the Northern Bank. Police recovered only about $2 million of it. The rest vanished, but so did any chance the robbers had of spending it safely. And that's the part Hollywood always skips. Stealing the money is only step one. Keeping it is the real challenge. Large sums of stolen cash can't just be deposited into a bank account. Every attempt to spend it, hide it, or move it risks exposing the entire crime. This is why the earliest recorded American bank robbery, back in 1798, still failed. The thief was caught after he tried redepositing the stolen money into local banks. 200 years of technology have changed, but that basic trap never has. Which brings us to the one place where the old rules no longer apply: the internet. Modern criminals figured out that computers can steal far more than any gun ever could. In 2016, hackers targeted Bangladesh's central bank and attempted to steal nearly $1 billion. Banking staff blocked most of it, but $81 million still slipped through. A single group called Carbanak stole up to $1 billion from banks across 30 countries over 2 years. No mask, no gun, no getaway car, just code. Reported cybercrime losses now sit near $21 billion a year in the US alone. That's roughly 500 times more than every physical bank robbery combined in a typical year. The criminals didn't get smarter. The target simply moved online, and they followed the money. So here is the real economic lesson hiding behind every bank heist story ever told. A masked robber risks 9 years in prison for around $4,000. An insider with access can walk away with millions and barely lift a finger. A hacker sitting safely behind a screen can attempt to steal $1 billion at once. The crime never really changed. Only the smartest way to commit it did. But even the biggest heists share the same ending, over and over again. The money gets frozen, traced, seized, or simply becomes too dangerous to spend. Real wealth was never sitting in that vault to begin with. It was always in the ability to build something people trust enough to protect. Every dollar these criminals risked everything for was already a fraction of what an honest career could have paid them. If this changed how you see the biggest heists in history, there's one that goes even further than anything we covered today. Watch our full breakdown of the Bangladesh Bank cyber heist, the closest thing to $1 billion bank robbery ever attempted.